All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in tonight for the breaking news. It's not often that I go live with you guys at in the evening, but maybe I should do it more. Maybe if we had more breaking news, I would. But we got a special guest coming on here in just a second, and I'm going to deliver the news that I'm excited about. So I know that many of you will be as well. It's something that I've been talking about everywhere I go across Oklahoma. And I tell you what, the response has been absolute support. And it has to do with ending property tax in Oklahoma. Yep. So here's the way I frame it. It's unjust. And this is also, how DeSantis and others around the nation who have also been fighting this, how they have been framing it as well. It's not new with myself, but we don't want to pay rent to the government. If you can pay off your home, pay off your land, and be threatened to lose it because you can't pay property taxes, ad valorem tax, then you don't actually own it. And I believe that is a God-given, constitutionally protected right to own the fruits of your labor. And so I believe this is the starting point is what is just here. It is not just for you to own your property and the government to take it away because you can't pay taxes. So there is then the question that follows, how do you make up the difference? We're going to get into all of that here in just a minute. That's a very important question. It must be addressed, but that's not the starting point. Many people make that the starting point and say, well, unless you have a way to make up the difference, you cannot make this move. I disagree. You first do what's right. The government stops stealing your money. So let's stop that practice. And then let's figure out how then do we make up the difference and pay for these essential services that we become so dependent on ad valorem tax to cover. All right. So I think I've prepped it enough for you guys. Let me just put a little breaking news in Oklahoma banner on before I welcome my next guest, former Representative Mike Reynolds. Mike, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be on here with you.
Well, absolutely. Thank you for coming on. I was pleased to see that today we rolled out this petition to end property tax in Oklahoma. I tell you what, that got excited. That got me excited. I know that excites a lot of people around the state, and it's got your name on it. Didn't surprise me at all. You're right in the middle of bold actions here in Oklahoma, so I appreciate that. But talk to me about this. How long have you been working on this, and what do we have as a final product as of today?
Well, I will. Jake, the property tax thing has been an issue for years. My brother was a senator. It took him 11 years, I think, to get the senior freeze. So the legislature, I've just concluded, the legislature was never going to do anything. And recently, in perusing through the Constitution, I found a provision that in the 1930s allowed for legislation for the legislature to determine the amount of exemption for homesteads. And I'm looking at that, it's like, do what? And it's only for homesteads. It's not for businesses or LLCs or anything else. And so I shopped that around to 2 or 3 people, and I said, I'm thinking about doing a property tax decrease. And I've done a lot of research since that time on what they're used for. I don't want to kill government. I don't want to kill county governments. That'll hurt. I don't want to kill schools, but everybody is saying right now that property taxes are out of control. They grow and grow, and as you said, you never own your home.
Right. And God forbid that you improve your property, because it's only going to increase. So there's no incentive to do better because you're penalized for it.
That's exactly. Even if you don't improve your property, I've lived in my house for 42 years. I haven't bothered to see what the taxes were that long ago, but I know they go up every year, and it's just not right.
And usually not quite as quickly as your paycheck either.
Well, One of the things that gets me is we talk about the senior and seniors that that are under a certain income level. Well, they might get kicked out of their homes. And I voted for the senior freeze when I was in the legislature. I'm happy we have it. I'm happy for any tax decrease for any individual, but I'm really not for a senior freeze. I'm more for my kids having the opportunity to buy a house than me not having to pay taxes. It's harder on them than it is on me. Property taxes discourage home ownership. And in fact, we're hearing about all these corporate buyouts of properties and everything's turning to rental property. This will really be a great thing, I think, for individual homeowners, because now when they want to go buy property, they have a shopping advantage over the corporations that are going to still have to pay property taxes on the houses they buy.
Yeah, such a great point. I've been making this as well as we're looking at BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard coming into our communities and buy up these properties, these residential properties. They're not buying corporations, they're buying residential properties.
Yeah.
Usually above sticker price, right? Above market value, and inflating the market so that then our children are coming along and they just can't afford because again, the paycheck's not matching what the market is with real estate. And so it's just through the roof, and it's largely due to these corporations coming in. And I think this is a great way to help balance this out. Not only is it a just move of allowing people to finally own their own land and houses, but also helping the future generation actually make this move. I mean, one of the best ways to increase one's net worth and help set one up financially is to own a home. And when we have this whole generation struggling to own their first home, to buy their first home, and they're stuck in this cycle of renting, then it's doing damage way down the road with future generations. So I love that. I love that perspective on it.
Yeah.
I want to highlight this if I can bring it on. I don't know how well you can see that, but this is the official
I'm half blind.
State. No, that's all right. It's just saying that this is state question number 841, initiative petition number 453. It was filed November 21st, which is today. And it says, along with this, the proponents of record have also submitted for filing their proposed ballot title and proposed gist of proposition. Let's see. So what is the next step on this, Mike?
Well, basically, we'll have myself and Senator Jett and Representative Stegall will kind of be on cruise control for a bit. I think there's a 30-day period where the Attorney General decides if the gist that we suggested is appropriate, and then I think there's a 90-day window that people can come in and contest that they think it's unconstitutional or whatever sort of protest they might want to vent against it. And then assuming that the language is approved by the court and everything else, I guess the quickest that anything that you could gather your first signature would be in about 4 months. And it could drag out much longer, but we kept this pretty simple and straightforward. So I don't see a lot of successful challenges.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. First of all, along with your name is Representative Stegall and Senator Shane Jett. Now, not surprising to me. I mean, both of them have a reputation of being pretty conservative. And talk to me about this conversation with those two and why they ended up on this particular effort.
Well, there's a lot of folks that are interested in this issue, but Senator Jett was a good choice, and he wanted to assist, and Representative Stegall was the same way, and so hey, that works for me because this is about the people. It's not about us, but those guys are influential, and I mean, already I'm sure they're getting. I know they've been contacted by various news agencies and outlets, and I think we're prepared to handle the call. And I think most everybody in the state of Oklahoma that owns a home and those that would want to own a home are probably going to be on board. But there's still a lot of work. You got to get a lot of signatures and everything else.
Yeah, no doubt. This is a 3-year phase out, is it not? I mean, so a third.
Yeah. Well, it's closer to probably 4.5, because, well, and that's because, it's going to take a year to get it voted on. But I suspect that you're like me. As far as I'm concerned, the scripture tells us that God created 3 institutions. That's the church, the family, and government. So there's nothing inherently wrong about government. And I'm not trying to defund government or anything like that. But counties really depend on ad valorem taxes. So, and people can say, well, you're trying to defund the schools. That's absolutely not true. The Constitution requires that schools be funded. It doesn't require that economic development be funded and all these other games that the legislature plays so that they can raise massive campaign contributions from the millionaires. So if we get, I think churches and families have been getting strangled because all the money's been going to government. So we'll put an end to that, and there'll be opportunities for the legislature to, hey, and I don't speak for the whole group. I'm speaking for myself. We're united on cutting property taxes. But an idea I have might be eliminating these ridiculous ad valorem reimbursements for new companies moving into Oklahoma, and TIF districts, and $700 million giveaways for aluminum plants and things of that nature. I'd rather see the money go back to my savings account and my kids' savings account and the citizens of Oklahoma's savings account, instead of the government savings account and the pockets of corporations. So this will force that, and the schools can be very successfully funded from other revenues. The ad valorem is not in the Constitution as that's how you have to fund schools. That's not it at all.
Yeah, we just have for so long depended completely on ad valorem tax and built so much of our infrastructure with these essential services like public schools based on ad valorem tax. And the reason for that is clear. It's stable and it's predictable.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been saying, though, that I would rather move to a consumption tax to help make up that difference and fund these services. And I understand that it may be less predictable. However, I do believe there are predictions out there that it could even exceed the amount of money gathered in taxes moving to a consumption tax. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but
I think that, again, I don't want to defund county government. I do want to defund economic development. I'll say that right up front, but I don't want to defund county government. I want to be able to file my deed at the courthouse. So I want us to file sources of revenue for the government. And that's why originally it was just in the property taxes. But as I gathered the 77 financial statements from Everett County and really realized what was going on, it's like, let's implement this over a 3 or 4 year period. Next year, maybe the legislature starts, because some of the stuff are constitutional. They're going to have to, the legislature itself is going to have to create some constitutional or some initiatives to end some of the foolish things they have passed into law in the past, and so that they can start recouping it. And they'll be on warning. Got to do it, boys, because in 4 years, that money's gone. Although, let's face it, this is only talking about homesteads. That is, citizens of the state of Oklahoma that have declared that this is their homestead. I'm not trying to end property taxes for corporations. In fact, I'd be fine with removing the 5% cap and let it be a 10% or a 20% or just whatever, no cap. Whatever the worth of your property goes up, that's what you pay the taxes on. So that's not my problem. And in fact, can't solve that problem because of the multi-subject problem, the multi-subject issue of our Constitution.
Right, that a state question can only address one issue at a time. So if it were to
basically
address
any legislation, the legislature can only,
and to be clear, this has been filed, but this will have to go before the legislature to be approved.
Oh no, the legislature fortunately is totally out of it. They have no I tell you, the opportunity the legislature has, someone could step up in the legislature and do this without us having to circulate an initiative petition. So, but they can't stop it.
That would be the preferred way, is representative stepping up and doing this. Now, with the reform to initiative petitions that was passed this last session, that requires them to go beyond the metros of Oklahoma City and Tulsa and have representation across the state of Oklahoma, do you think that will hurt? Do you think that will hurt or help this effort?
Well, I don't think it will help, but I don't see it hurting either, because I just think about every person in the state of Oklahoma that owns a house. Every father and every mother, 2 people per house, whatever, they're going to go out and vote for this thing, unless, of course, they own Devon Energy or something like that, and they don't want the corporate property taxes going up. I don't know. I couldn't speak to that, but I think it's going to be wildly popular. I know that I've had so many phone calls today since I filed it at I don't know what time I filed this, around 11 o'clock or something. That I think it's going to be wildly popular.
I do too. Everywhere I go across the state on this campaign, I bring it up, and there's usually a cheer. There's usually great support for it, followed by questions. Lots of questions about, okay, how do we make up the cost, the money lost with doing away with property tax? A legitimate question, as you've even noted. However, people are excited about the possibility of actually owning their own property without the threat of being taken. So, and this is a nationwide trend. Like I said, I think there's 17 other states that are on board with this. Florida is aggressive, and DeSantis is out front saying we're going to end this in Oklahoma or Florida. But to your point, this is the homestead exemption, focusing on individual private property ownership.
That's correct. It's not going to protect businesses and things of that nature. That's a whole different story. And again, that will still be a source of revenue for county governments. The school issue, I would say that if the legislature decreases the amount of funding for schools because of this, they should be voted out of office. No, they need to redirect. They need to quit putting money in TIFs and, like I say, in state savings accounts and all these other places, and don't do any scare tactics. Schools should not suffer at all over this issue.
Yeah, no, and I hope not as well. But I do believe it is going to require a massive restructuring of how we fund things, which I believe is needed. And just because it's a big hurdle to jump doesn't mean we should avoid it. We should most definitely address this. And thank you for leading the charge on this. I know myself and so many others have been speaking out about it, but thank you for the action that you took.
I was happy to do it, Jake, and I appreciate your speaking out on this also.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, appreciate you. I'll let you get back to your evening. Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you. Bye now.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Well, Mike Reynolds there. That's the breaking news. He has filed the paperwork to see if we can end property tax here in Oklahoma. So something I've been talking about, of course, like I said, this has been a nationwide trend for the last few years, and I'm ready to see it. I would love to see Oklahoma lead the way in this. And I think we most definitely can. I think we have the support of the people. The people want to own their own property, would love to end taxes across the state. So I have no doubt this could pass. And I'm going to be for it. This is what I've been talking about on my campaign across the state. And like I said, the response from the people has been 99% in support, with questions about how do we make up the difference. But this will be largely up to the legislature to figure that out. And, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. How do we make up the difference? But do you agree with this? Do you like this move? Put it in the comments there. And, I'm not responding to any comments right now, but I'm going to go back through and look at the comments later. But what do you think about this move to end property tax in Oklahoma? I think it's great. I think this is part of this conservative resurgence, this conservative wave that is saying, you know what? Just because we've been doing it this way for the last 50 years doesn't mean we should continue doing it. And this is so often the justification. This is the justification for collecting data. Like E-Verify says, well, we're only collecting data that's already being collected. Maybe we should take a step back and say, should that data be collected in the first place? This is the justification for collecting data on our school children. Well, it's already being collected, so we're going to just organize it and store it better. Well, maybe we should take a step back and say, should we even be collecting this in the first place? So the fact that we've been doing this for so many years is not justification for continuing doing it. That's all I got tonight, guys. I just wanted to bring this to you. I was excited to hear this. I spoke with Mike earlier, and I was thrilled to see he had filed. So I'll do some follow-up, maybe bring on Representative Stiegel and Senator Shane Jett to talk about why their names are on this as well and what they expect to see moving forward. But appreciate you guys. Put your comments in the comment section below. I'm going to follow up on that later. But I'm going to get to my family. We're going to dive into some homemade tacos tonight. So go spend some time with your family and some time in prayer, praying for the state of Oklahoma. All right. God bless you guys. I'll see you later.